Hey everyone, and welcome back to another meeting of the Tropical Rum Society. As always, I'm Matt, and today, apart from seeing me in a shirt that desperately needs a new button put onto it, we're going to be looking at another Plantation rum. Previously, we've taken a look at Plantation's 3-star rum, but today we're going to be looking at one that has a little bit more colour to it. Plantation's Original Dark Rum has some similarities in production to the 3-star, but produces a very different end result. Let's jump in and find out what these differences and similarities are. Now, usually this is the point where we would kind of dive a little bit into the company that produces the rum, but since we've already done that with the Plantation 3-star, I'll leave a link to that video in the description down below, and you can check that out once we finish this video. In that video though, I did promise a little bit more information about the double barreling process that Plantation uses to produce their rums. So since it's been a very long time since I actually made that video, I think it's about time that I give you that information. But just to keep you waiting a little bit longer, I'm first going to mention that Plantation Original Dark is a 40% ABV rum, which is primarily made up of rum out of Barbados, with a splash of high ester Jamaican rum to give it a little bit of extra depth and character. Alright, let's finally talk about this double barreling process. So Plantation's double barreling is a pretty unique way that they do their aging, where they first mature the spirit in a heavily charred American oak barrel. This barrel has already had bourbon in it, so not only are you getting those woody notes from the oak that are infusing in, but you're getting some of that bourbon flavor as well. This first aging is done down in the Caribbean, where that nice tropical environment means that the rum mellows out and takes in those barrel aspects pretty quickly compared to a colder climate, which gives it a nice deep color and a good strong base flavor. Now, you might be saying, it's not that unique to go and put a rum in an old bourbon barrel down in the Caribbean. It's a pretty standard thing. Plenty of places do that. But what makes Plantation unique is the second part of their aging process. So once they've been aging for a while down in the Caribbean, the Plantation cellar master comes over from France, goes through the barrels, tastes them, and finds the best, the cream of the crop, which he then ships back to France. The rum in these hand-selected barrels is then transferred from the bourbon casks into a medium-charred French oak ex-cognac cask. That's difficult to say. Ex-cognac cask. The less tropical French climate allows this second aging process to happen a little bit more slowly, which allows the rum to extract those barrel flavors a little bit more delicately, resulting in a more refined final product that ends up in the bottle. And speaking of the bottle, let's take a look at it. As I mentioned at the start, there's quite a few similarities between the Original Dark and the 3-star, and one of those is definitely the shape of this bottle. Both of them have that same iconic Plantation design, that nice embossed logo into the glass, and a very eye-catching label. There's some bold yellows and reds that are nicely offset with the dark black label in the center, and there's no shortage of detail to this label here. We can see in the detail here that there's actually some information about that double barreling process. There's some tasting notes right on the bottle, and plenty about how the rum is actually produced by Plantation. Also, I do notice that the label on this bottle isn't quite lined up here, which I don't think is meant to be the case. From the photos I've seen online, I think it's meant to be lined up, and they kind of just messed this one up, which makes my bottle a little bit special. The great thing about this label being so detailed is that even if you're not a Tropical Rum Society member, which you can be by just hitting that subscribe button below, you can actually learn a bunch about this rum very quickly just from reading it off the label. As we can see from the liquid inside, that dark rum name is pretty fitting. It's got a nice reddish brown color that goes pretty well with the label that they've put on this bottle, but we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, so let's get this poured out into a glass and take a little bit deeper look at that color. Cork top, it's always a nice little feature to a rum. Pour this one out and stop ourselves early because we don't need that much rum to taste it. Now, taking a look at the color here, like I said, we can see it's a nice reddish brown. Giving it a bit of a swirl, we can see it's nice and thick. It's definitely sticking to the sides of the glass there. I have a feeling this one might be nice and dense in the mouth, but let's see what it's like in the nose first. Now, that's a very pleasant smell, and one that I'd probably call pretty mellow. It's definitely not sharp, and it's not hugely complex, but it does have a nice bit of variety going on in it. It's pretty round and kind of smoothed off, which we would expect from a double-aged spirit, and it's quite sweet as well in the smell, which we'd probably expect from a rum in general, really. I'm getting a few notes of vanilla, maybe a little bit of banana in there as well, and definitely some kind of like dark brown sugar toffee notes to it too. It's slightly woody and a little bit leathery, which I think might be coming from that bourbon barrel. It kind of does remind me of a few bourbons that I've tried. But overall, that's a smell that I really enjoy that. So if you don't love sweetness, you could probably shy away from this one. It's probably not your favorite thing, but I quite like it. Let's see what it tastes like. So yeah, there's a lot of sweetness to that, and not too much alcohol burn in this. It doesn't really last too long. It kind of quickly fades away. Not too much aftertaste that I'm getting either, but there's a definite growing warmth in both my mouth and my throat after sipping that. The warmth is also now making it down into my chest as well, and that's really lasting with me a lot longer than the flavors from sipping this. Not bad at all. It's very easy to drink with that nice rounded, smoothed off profile, but it's not hugely complex and doesn't really last all that long either. Now, I know I say this all the time, but I think this is one that actually would be really good for mixing. So it's sweet, it's dark, it's rich, and I think it would very easily accentuate some tropical notes if you added it to something like fruit juice, and would also blend very well into a cocktail. Personally, this is actually one I've been mixing quite a bit into sodas, especially this pineapple flavored soda that I have at home. And when I mix it in with that pineapple soda, that's just like a great start to an evening. So definitely highly recommend giving this a mix into some of the sodas that you have at home, seeing how it goes. It's not bad with Coke, but yeah, definitely like a fruit flavored soda works better for me. When you drink this one by itself, it's a little bit lacking, kind of like a one-trick pony. There's not a huge amount going on in here. If you're just getting into rums and you don't really have much of a background in other spirits, then I would say that this is probably one to give a try. But if you're coming across from like whiskies or something like that, this might be a little bit too sweet too soon for you. And regardless of whether you're a beginner, advanced, intermediate, whatever drinker, there's a copious amount of information on this label, which I'm sure I've probably missed some of. So if you find something new on your bottle while you're taking a sip, let me know what it is down in the comments below, as I'm always keen to hear what you guys know that I have not learned. Also, if you've had this one before and you have any different thoughts on it, let me know those as well. In the meanwhile, I'm going to go finish this off, get that on the shelf, and then I will see you in the next meeting.